Hello, I'm Monty McCutcheon. In this educational video, we will take a closer look at one of the most misunderstood rules in the NBA, traveling. The fast-paced nature of the NBA game makes traveling one of the most difficult violations to observe in real time. Additionally, traveling is a complex rule that covers a multitude of scenarios. We will take a look at a wide array of examples that we hope will provide a better understanding of this rule. Let's dive right in. Traveling has a number of components. The first thing we will discuss is the gather. The term gather will be defined as the following. For a player who receives a pass or gains possession of a loose ball, the gather is defined as the point where the player gains enough control of the ball to hold it, change hands, pass, shoot, or the player cradles the ball against his body. For a player who is in control of the ball while dribbling, the gather is defined as the point where a player does any one of the following: puts two hands on the ball, or otherwise permits the ball to come to rest while he is in control of it, puts a hand under the ball and brings it to a pause, or otherwise gains enough control of the ball to hold it, change hands, pass, shoot, or the player cradles the ball against his body. Let's take a look at a series of examples of players gathering the ball. Here, Semi Ojeleye receives a pass in mid-air, and he has immediately gathered the ball. Next, we will see Buddy Hield receive a pass in transition, and he catches and gathers the ball right here. Our next example shows Ed Davis gather the ball as he gains control of a loose ball. Next up, Doug McDermott ends his dribble, and he gathers the ball with two hands right here. Here, Chris Middleton drives to the basket, and he ends his dribble with a one-hand gather, seen right here. Last, we will see Langston Galloway gather the ball by cradling it against his body. Let's take a look at a series of examples, starting with a stationary player receiving the ball. A standing player must release his dribble before raising his pivot foot off the floor. If a player with the ball in his possession raises his pivot foot off the floor, he must pass or shoot before his pivot foot returns to the floor. Let's start with a very basic example of a player receiving a pass while he is standing. Devin Booker receives the pass here from Jamal Crawford, and since Booker is standing, at this point, either foot can be his pivot foot. Once he lifts either foot off the floor, his other foot would then become his pivot foot. This is the basic setup for a standing player. Now let's look at an example of a standing player receiving a pass and then taking a shot. Here, Harrison Barnes receives the pass from Dennis Smith Jr., and Barnes is in a standing position. At this point, either foot can be his pivot foot. Barnes then moves his right foot to better position himself, thus effectively making his left foot his pivot foot. From here, Barnes legally leaves the floor with both feet as he attempts a jump shot. Since the ball is out of his hands before his pivot foot returned to the floor, this is a legal example. Now we will see a standing player receive a pass, and he will legally release the ball on the dribble. Paul Millsap catches the pass from his teammate, and since he is standing, either foot can be his pivot. Millsap then lifts his right foot off the floor, thus making his left foot his pivot foot. At this point, Millsap releases the ball on the dribble before he lifts his pivot foot off the floor. This is a legal example, and there is no violation on this play. In contrast to the previous play, here we will see an example of a player who will commit a traveling violation after receiving a pass while standing. Mo Wagner receives the pass, and either foot can be his pivot. He then lifts his right foot off the floor, and in doing so, he establishes his left foot as his pivot foot. Wagner then lifts his pivot foot off the floor before releasing the ball on the dribble. The rule states that the ball must be out of his hands before his pivot foot leaves the floor, and since that was not the case here, this is a traveling violation. A player who gathers the ball while progressing may take two steps in coming to a stop, passing, or shooting the ball, or if he has not yet dribbled, one step prior to releasing the ball to start his dribble. On this example, Chris Middleton passes the ball up ahead to Malcolm Brogdon, and Brogdon receives it, takes two legal steps before scoring the basket. The low-angle replay shows the catch and gather right here. followed by Brogdon's legal step 1 here, and his legal step 2 here. Since a player is allowed 2 steps after receiving and gathering a pass, this is a legal play by Brogdon. In contrast to the previous example, here we see Klay Thompson receiving the ball in transition, and Thompson takes 3 steps before scoring the basket. A closer look reveals that Thompson receives the ball here with his right foot on the floor. He then steps with his left foot for step 1, his right for step 2, and then his left again for an illegal step 3. This is a traveling violation on Thompson. Please note that even if Thompson had caught the ball a split second later and he was in midair and not with his right foot on the floor, this would still be illegal as he still takes 3 steps from that point. On this play, Kemba Walker passes the ball up ahead to Dwayne Bacon, and after receiving the pass, Bacon takes 1 legal step before then releasing the ball on the dribble. When we examine more closely, we can see the catch and gather by Bacon right here. And then we see his legal 1 step, followed by the release of the ball on the dribble before his other foot touches the floor. This is a legal example. In contrast to the previous play, here we will see Rudy Gobert receive the pass from Donovan Mitchell, and Gobert will commit a traveling violation as he takes more than 1 step before he releases the ball on the dribble. The replay shows the catch and gather in mid-air by Gobert here, and then his first step with his left foot here, a second step with his right foot here, before then releasing the ball on the dribble. This is a traveling violation on Gobert.